Of course, as you can see, Mr. Judge is a stickler for details, and the wealth of details is what this Citizens Commission is all about. We will go to a question and answer period now for the commissioners, and perhaps I know Dr. Khan is very interested in posing some of these medical questions to Ms. Orkin. But first I want to go to Commissioner McIlvaine.
All right, well, first question to Jenna. Who do you think put the pressure about getting everything open? Was it Wall Street on the government or the government on Wall Street? Yeah. I mean, can we put a blame somewhere? Did it come from, you know, a group of people?
Well, I'm not any more informed, probably less, than many other people about how Wall Street works with the government. But do you think there's a conflict between them?
No.
I think they were in agreement. Let's get Wall Street up and running, and that's, you know, their primary objective, their first priority.
Jenna, can you just also, you touched on the insurance companies.
Yeah.
What interest did they have in sort of downplaying the role of a dangerous atmosphere?
That they wouldn't have to pay for the cleanups.
That's a huge incentive.
Mm.
And one more question just for the audience. Where could they get information about the facts for their morbidity rates and the incidence of asthma and reactive airways diseases and other things? Are those being tabulated by a private medical agency, a city agency, you? Where can you get those?
Well, there are a lot of studies being done. There's one done by Dr. Anthony Zima of Stony Brook and the Charles B. Wang Community Health Center in Manhattan, Department of Epidemiology at the University of Pittsburgh School of Health. It showed an increase in asthma rates and severity among pediatric patients living within a radius of 5 miles of ground zero after 9/11. There's a study at Mount Sinai being done. There was an article by Andrew Revkin in the New York Times called "Smoke and Dust at World Trade Center is Linked to Smaller Babies," so that the advice initially given that pregnant women need take no extra precautions turns out to have been false. A lot of people, Dr. Joan Reidman is studying it, and many others.
Okay, thank you. Cynthia, do you have anything in particular?
Yes, I do, actually, but I wanted you to complete your questions before you...
I just wanted to shift to John, because we're on a strict time now.
We
have BAI coming in at 3 sharp, and
okay.
we have to get things started.
Well, then let me go ahead and ask Ms. Orkin. When my mother used to be a nurse, retired nurse, and when these images of Ground Zero were broadcast to all of us, she picked up the phone to me and called me and said, "Cynthia, those workers are going to have health effects." Now, this is, you know, my mom, who is like so far away, recognizing that there's going to be a problem here. Tell me, in your legal case, who are your defendants?
I'm so hesitant to talk about the legal case. EPA, Christy Todd Whitman, Marianne Harinko, who was under Whitman. It's essentially focused on EPA in general and specific individuals within EPA.
And so then what about the role of the City of New York in its responsibility for protecting its citizens?
You're now talking about residents. You're not talking about Ground Zero workers. Essentially, everybody took their cues from EPA. And once EPA declared the air to be safe, that was the signal that you behave accordingly. And so business as usual was what happened.
Well, couldn't people who were charged with the responsibility of protecting the lives of the people here question EPA?
In general, the government didn't question. The citizens, the activists did question to a large extent and did protest. And, you know, Juan Gonzalez came out with an article on October 26th which was the first, I think, major article that there really were problems. But there was such a kind of sense of we've got to show the terrorists, get back on the horse, that people were drowned out if they raised any such questions. I know the kids at Stuyvesant felt it was unpatriotic to raise those sorts of questions, and most did not. And I think that was the general sense at the time.
Just in fairness to the workers, I mean, I happen to have been there the morning of the 12th or 13th, I forget which one, a day, like 24 hours after the event. I can tell you all the workers there was such a frenzy to get there and do something that oftentimes we were actually reprimanded by senior officials for not wearing respirators, not wearing protective gear. But for them, it was just a question of getting in there and doing what we can. So it wasn't, no one was thinking about those terms then. But at this point, in terms of chronic exposure to things where really you get in trouble with health, with chronic exposure, days and days and days, weeks and weeks and weeks, that's where these issues are probably most important, and that's why I think they're being neglected. As far as the EPA is concerned, that holds as much esteem in my eyes as the FDA. So both of these agencies have been compromised multiple times due to fiscal interests, and it has a historical precedent. So.
I've concluded my questions. Have you concluded yours?